Alright, welcome everybody. This is your friend Justin here. Today, I wanted to go over some stuff I've been seeing on Twitter lately. Um, I'm not sure why, but the algorithm is giving me a lot of stuff about, let's just say, stuff like that, anti you know what. Um, so, it's not just that. I really just wanted to go over stuff I've been seeing on Twitter. On Twitter, you really see a lot of, you see a lot of crazier stuff than you would see on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, or Snapchat even, or just apps like that, because you really, X, it doesn't have much censorship. I guess there is censorship, but not as much, of course, as the Meta owned platforms. So people really just say what they want, and I know that a lot of these people, the stuff they say, because it's very fanatical, a lot of it, they would probably never say it in real life. Um, it's easy to hide behind a screen, especially a fake account or whatever, because most of these accounts are just trolls. They're not even real. But I just wanted to go over some tweets, especially stuff with Candace Owens that I've been seeing a lot about lately. But you do get a lot of good information on X. There's a lot of misinformation, just like any other social media platform, but a lot of it is true, and you can really see a lot of like-minded people and get in contact with them. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't really show their face. They want to remain anonymous. I mean, I don't know why it matters at this point anymore to remain anonymous, but without further ado, I'll just get into the video here. So, my first, little repost here. I basically am just gonna go over everything I reposted as like talking points. So, the first one here. My wife thinks most people are going to give in if a flu passes around again. She says everyone will beg for lockdowns and vaccines, and call the police if you don't comply. Whoopsies. What do you think? Well, I think he's just about right. Um, I'm sure by the flu, he's trying to be a little bit, you know, politically correct here, and he's talking about some sort of pandemic. That's what I got out of this. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't even know who this guy really is. Just kind of pulled up on my feed, but I mean, this is totally true though. What he's saying, that what his wife is saying. Excuse me. You know, people are gonna beg for it. There's gonna be people that beg for it. There's obviously gonna be people who don't want to be locked up and to be vaccinated, and of course who aren't gonna call the police. But believe me, there will be a surprising amount of people who will snitch on you, who will beg for this kind of stuff. They're gonna look at Big Brother essentially to solve the problems, for us, because a lot of people just look at the government as daddy. People can't get past their idol worship. For people like Donald Trump, I don't even want to say Kamala Harris is an idol, because the Democrats just don't want to vote for Trump because they hate him so much. There's really no reason why they hate him. They've just been told to hate him by the media throughout all these years, because if you ask a typical person why they hate Trump, if they say they do or they're a liberal, they don't really give you irrational reasoning. They kind of just throw it in your face and say, really, like, what do you think it is? Like, oh my god, he's a racist. Oh god, he's this, he's that. But whatever, that's just political games here. So this is really like where it's going to get, I guess, controversial, because this for some reason is like such a sensitive topic that people like can't seem to really wrap their heads around. And I know why. It's because of religion. It's because of the warping and distorting of the Bible, things like that, and just the complete mental gymnastics, really, that the powers that be, the bloodlines that go back centuries ago, that they have whitewashed and erased a lot of history, essentially. But anyway, call them Jews. Our enemies do not care if you call them globalists or Zionists or Frankists or whatever, or Khazarians. And remember, this is what Candace Owens here was claiming that, the Jews basically descend from. I mean, they are, though. They descend from, Khazarians, that country Khazaria from a long time ago, where, it was founded, I believe, the religion of Judaism. But they care deeply when you point out that they are Jewish, and that's the point. It's like, what people are getting confused here is that the elites, the people in power, the people who pledge their allegiance to Israel, is they say they're Jewish, but they're really not. What they really are is Satanists. And they hide behind this Jewish title so that you can't question them. I mean, it's quite simple if you think about it. It's like if I were to talk to you about Rothschild, and speaking of Rothschild, I just saw he was trending. Yeah, he is trending. I mean, we can actually look at that a little later on, but anyway, if I were to talk about how Rothschild have stake in the Federal Reserve, the media, big oil, pharmaceutical companies, automobile industry. I mean, like everything. Food companies. Like they're involved in everything, and because they started the Fed, they essentially have a monopoly on money, and that's not a conspiracy theory. Like it's just the truth. If you want to deny that, you can, but you can't run from reality. You have to face these things, because if you stay in denial, you are going to be led to the slaughterhouse. So, anyway, these people hide behind this religious title so that people don't question them. And then, they created that country in 1948, and they essentially put people of my skin color there who kind of look like me, right? I mean, I'm Italian and a couple of other European descent or whatever. I'm American. I was born here in America. My family traces back here in America for a long time. But my point is that it's like when you use this word or you mention the Holocaust, it's like that is like the most sensitive conspiracy out there is about these people, and you can't question them. I mean, you know who people are by who they pledge allegiance to, and it really doesn't have to do with the religion of Judaism. It has to do more with the country Israel, and this is another thing people get so confused. Is there is a difference between being Jewish, being Israeli, and then being an Israelite. An Israelite is actually what the scriptures talk about, living that kind of lifestyle. There really is no religious title on any of these famous names that are kind of in the Bible, including Jesus Christ. They're basically just Hebrews. They're Israelites. They're just God-fearing men who followed God's law. And then what's happened is you've had people who've came in and created their own religions over time, right? Because this is a rebellion against God, and it stems back thousands and thousands of years ago. So I'm not going to get into the whole history here, but my point is like there is alarm bells that goes off in people who identify as this, okay? And when you're Jewish, that's just a religion, right? That's just when you're I could be Jewish if I wanted to. Ethnically, I'm not Jewish, but I could convert right now if I wanted to. That's being that, yeah, but I'm not Israeli, right? I'm not from there. I have no blood traces for that go to Israel. You know what I'm saying? I mean the modern one, not the scriptural one. Well, both actually. I don't have any blood traces that go back to either there. But that's besides the point. And then when you're Israeli, obviously you are the nationality Israeli. If you were born in Israel and maybe you moved to the USA, you're Israeli, right? Or if you were born in Israeli and you live in Israel and you're Israeli. So that's the difference between the three. And I feel like so many people get this confused. I mean, this is just like simple stuff that I feel like people don't understand. But listen, I mean, they do become irrationally angry, and I've experienced this myself. Speaking of this, I live in New Jersey, and the town I grew up in is actually full of Israelis. A lot of, they're Jewish, of course, but they're Israelis, so they live, like me. They live like a modern lifestyle, just like any American. It's like the Hasidic Jews and whatever the other one is, Orthodox, whatever. Those are the Jews that like take it very to the extreme, and that's when they live in their own communities, things like that, and they dress and all that weird stuff or whatever. But anyway, even a lot of those Hasidic and Orthodox Jews are against Israel, and it's not that they're against Jewish people; they're just against Israel. Kind of like me. I have Jewish friends. Okay, I know a lot of Jewish people that are good people. And some of them aren't Israeli. Some of them are Israeli. But the point is that I don't necessarily support Israel, right? Like, I am not in support of Israel. I know what Israel is. That doesn't mean I don't like Israelis. That means I don't like the people who started and funded and continue to operate in Israel, which would be the elites there. Just like here in the United States, it's basically me saying I don't like, the government. I like my country, but I don't like my government. Just like I'm sure that there's plenty of Israelis who are nice people, who mean well. I'm sure there's Israelis who are bad people too, just like there's Americans who are bad people and good people. So anyway, I feel like people just get too carried away in their emotions with this stuff, because it's like if you're Jewish, I guess you've been told you're the chosen person, and being told that you're a fraud or whatever, that you've hijacked, because essentially you did from, the ancient Hebrews, which were melanin skinned people, essentially, and Jesus Christ, all these people were of melanin skin. They weren't white. And that's because we think they're white, or Jesus Christ is white, because history's been whitewashed by Khazarians, by these people that are these modern day Zionists and globalists, basically. And people become angry about it, and there's nothing you can do if people become angry. It's pure emotion. They'll never be able to see past it. I wish people could, I really do, but I think means more than people realize. I mean, it does, it really truly does. But anyway, I'll stop with my rant on that one. Now I want to talk about Candace Owens. Let's tie this into her now. So I don't know who this lady is exactly, but she started popping up on my feed, I believe, when the whole Trump assassination happened, and she was tweeting some real stuff, so I started following her. But anyway, obviously this is true. Like, I already knew this before, but Candace Owens is controlled opposition. No one reaches this level on the world stage without being part of the club. And people might call this hating. People might call this, like, jealousy or whatever. And I understand why people would say that, because, of course, I would like to be on this level. But you gotta understand is that when these people rise to the top, especially someone like Candace Owens, I mean, I don't really even know too much of, like, where she came from and all that. She kind of just started rising up on the scene, it seemed like the past 5 years or whatever. But she says a lot of truth. Like, she says a lot of facts. It's just she doesn't get to the root of the problem. She doesn't tell you the deep, behind the curtain stuff of why these things are happening, where things are going. She's talking about Jews and stuff, and the thing is, like, she has to give you breadcrumbs of truth, because then you'll get reeled in by her. Then you'll want to listen to her. Then you'll trust her. Then you'll start to think she's credible, because she's spitting facts. But once she has you reeled in, and she's probably going to continue to keep saying facts, she's going to eventually tell you stuff that's misleading on purpose, right? She's probably going to tell you to vote, and Donald Trump is the answer, this and that. Because all these people who are, like, mainstream conspiracy truthers, whatever, like, they're all Trump people, right? They play the political game. Anyone who's playing the political game, you should stop watching them, because they don't understand what's really taking place. No politician, especially Trump or whoever is going to run for the Democratic office, Kamala Harris, whoever, is not going to save any of us. So, Candace Owens, again, listen, the way it operates with people like her is they tell you, like, a lot of truth, and so that reels you in. That makes you think that there's someone you can trust, because they're telling you, something that's actually true, and it's conspiratorial, this and that, and she's like, oh, it seems all brave saying this stuff. But in the end of the day, Candace Owens is not gonna lead you in the right direction. She is gonna mislead you. She's just like Andrew Tate. She's just like Matt Walsh, Jake Shields, Sneeko, Fresh and Fit podcast. Just like all these people that they tell you a lot of truth. They're very knowledgeable. Maybe they're genuine. Maybe they're plants. I believe they're just. Some of them are in. I'm not gonna say all of them. I don't believe Fresh and Fit necessarily, or maybe someone on the caliber of Sneeko, because they're not really even that big necessarily. But Andrew Tate obviously is controlled opposition. I mean, she's controlled opposition, because they have so many fans, and when you get to this level and you're influencing millions and millions, if not tens of millions of people, you're going to be either one of them, or you're not gonna be seen. Like, that's the whole point. It's like, if you're really, it's like someone like me becoming on her level. Like, no one knows who I am, because I say the actual truth, so no one wants to watch me because of that. No one. I don't get pushed out in the algorithm. The algorithm pushes me away because of what I talk about. What I talk about is really. There's people that, of course, agree with me, but it's not easy to reach people, because I don't reach anyone, because the algorithm isn't going to push me out there if you're talking about truth. Or even if you do start to get views and clout or whatever, you're going to get defamed. You're not going to get anywhere if you're really, really, really talking about truth and you're getting actually big. And by big, I'm talking at least 1 million followers. At least 1 million. Once you reach 1 million and you're starting and you're talking raw truths and you're gaining momentum, they're going to come after you one way or another. So there's that. 80% of single men are no longer interested in dating. They're not even trying. Why is this the case? So this is interesting. Excuse me, I just want to get water real quick. Give me like 1 second. But, so, 80% of men are no longer interested in dating. I think what it really is, what this guy is saying, because I did want to talk about this briefly. I think 80% of men are just sexless. I think 80% of men are invisible to women because there are studies that show that, in the modern world today we live in, I don't know if it's worldwide or USA, but 80% of men are unattractive to women. There's actually a study done that they find literally 80% of men ugly, as in they would not talk to them or anything like that. So there's really only 20% of dudes out there that are getting women, and that's really what the big problem is this whole stuff with feminism and all that stuff that happened obviously a long time ago now, but it's turned women into monsters almost, to where and then this isn't all women, of course, but the modern woman is very masculine, does not respect man, doesn't care about man, because ultimately women don't need men anymore, right? Women work, women have college degrees, women can go to school, women can work any job, women can vote, right? There's more women actually employed right now and in college and excelling in college than men, and I believe women are actually out earning men. As of 2020, I know that was a 2022 stat. I don't know if it's 2024 or 2023 though. But women are making just as much as men, so there's really no need for the family unit anymore. And so by default, this is going to lead to just promiscuous sex, hookup culture, things like that. And ultimately, most of the guys are going to be single and just left out and not having kids and not procreating. So, and that means also a lot of women, too, are going to be single because there's only going to be 20% of men they actually really find attractive. And even if they settle for one of these guys, it's like, I don't know if it's going to work because a lot of these women have just been very brainwashed. I mean, it's from the day they're born. They're told they're princesses, things like that. The whole princess syndrome, whatnot. And listen, like, I'm 27, so, like, I totally get it. I'm in this, I am of this generation. I know exactly how the modern man and women are. But anyway, I'll get into this maybe more in another video. A general rule of thumb, if the FDA approves it, it's probably toxic. And if they ban it, it's probably extremely healthy. Yeah, I think that's kind of a no-brainer, right? The FDA, we all know the stuff that, I mean, look, I'm drinking, I shouldn't even be drinking this right now. I do actually have a water filter, but I just wanted something quick. We all know they're putting stuff in our water supply, things like that, stuff in our food that's toxic, that's bad for us, causes cancer in the future. We all know this, so honestly, if the FDA doesn't approve it, you should totally take it, because that probably means it is extremely healthy, like he says. Yeah, I mean, how the F do you make friends as an adult if you don't drink? I've been wondering that, honestly, for the past, like, 5 years now, how you make friends when you are an adult that's not at a freaking bar, nightclub, or doesn't involve some sort of liquor, I know it's not impossible, but it seems like that's just what most people my age, and especially younger, like, want to do. Jews can slaughter half your population and then act like the real atrocity is people talking about it online. Well, it ties back to what I was saying before, because when I started this video, I was telling you how I was seeing a lot of stuff I was seeing a lot of anti-you-know-what stuff, and then I was seeing a lot of pro-Israel stuff. So it was a very interesting blend of the two that I was seeing. And that's my tweet, but I won't get into that. Yeah, Richie from Boston. I don't know if you guys follow him at all or heard of him, but you should definitely follow Richie from Boston. He's actually one of my favorite truthers, legitimate truthers of all time. I started watching him in like 2018 or whatever, and yeah, you know, I um, I highly suggest him. I'm sorry, I got lost in thought because I was just thinking about if he posted a video lately. But anyway, these military aged men being brought arose our borders across, I think he meant to say, yeah, across our borders and the UK borders aren't here to affect the quote unquote vote. They're here as mercenaries for the New World Order, and this will all erupt right before the 2024 selection. Um, yeah, I mean, this is probably what's going to happen, guys. You know, I mean, there's all these immigrants. There's about 30 million, right, immigrants that already came in here. And it's just all part of taking down a country. You know, they're trying so hard, the elites, to take down the United States. You know, we're all divided as people. We don't care about anything. Let's face it, Americans are defeated. Like, we just don't care about anything. That's the real issue, is no one cares about anything. Everyone just wants to go and make this money and go to work. And, you know, and here's the issue with money is, like, the dollar is so devalued and it's going to collapse. I know this is, for some reason, a controversial topic about the dollar, but like anyone who's in finance, anyone who understands basic finances, the Federal Reserve especially, I mean they're gonna collapse the dollar. Why? Because they need to bring down the United States. It needs to just fall to its knees and it needs to be rebuilt into something completely new. That is the whole goal of the New World Order. The United States has to fall. There can be no United States. There can't be armed citizens the way that there is now. Okay, maybe they won't exactly get it the way they want it. Maybe they're gonna have to do different things that maybe us truthers aren't even aware of yet. But I mean, don't get it twisted, everyone. They're doing a lot of stuff with immigrants and especially the military age guys, because that's mainly what they are, and they're probably going to be New World Order soldiers. You know, we've seen this in movies like, you know, UN soldiers, stuff like that. You know, coming in and because pandemics or civil unrest or whatever, and it's very possible. So Candace Owens, controlled op, yeah, I already spoke about her. So I think the main thing here, because you know, if you look at the comments here, a lot of people seem like confused on why they were posting it. So this is my response because actually, you know, I'm not even going to read it because it might not make sense if you haven't read these comments, but I'm not going to go through it. But anyway, I think the point here of this picture that this guy is showing is the Freemason, you know, black and white checkerboard symbolism. I think that's like what his point was. And Candace Owens, you know, I don't know if this is some sort of hidden hand she's trying to do here, but it, you know, obviously the black and white checkerboard. So that's what he was pointing out, and a lot of people just didn't understand it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't believe there's much to it anymore. I'll just go through this one last one here. Anti-Semitism, excuse me, is a trick Jews use to stifle legitimate criticism. What? Why do I feel like I'm having trouble reading out loud tonight? Probably because I don't do it often. Anyway, when you tell the truth about Jews, yeah, I mean, anti-Semitism, Nazi, hate speech, racist. So, you know, these were all coins. I mean, terms that were coined a long time ago by elites. You know, blood people from the bloodline. You know, that are come from that Khazaria bloodline or whatever it is, the Frankish, whatever. But you know, anyway, what I'm trying to say is like they're just shame you. Like people just shame you into complying. They shame you into into going with the narrative. Essentially, if people don't agree with you, what they do is they shame you. That's ultimately what people do. It's very sad that people do that because it's a very low IQ way of handling arguments and whatnot. But it's how people are, and I don't know if people will change because I don't know if people will unite ever because that's really all it's going to take because that's the simple solution to all this stuff. People always want solutions, and the solution always sounds so crazy to people, but the solution literally is that, uh, you know, you got to somehow come together. First, you got to understand these things. You got to educate yourself, understand these things a little bit, and then we have to come together. Because in the end of the day, if we don't come together, the 1% is going to eat the 99%. They already are. And excuse me, I'm getting very tired right now. It's almost midnight here in New Jersey. So if I sound like I'm fading out, that's why. But I'm going to end it here. So if you enjoyed this, let me know. Please give it a like. Please comment. And good night, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.